I'm a, I'm a big, tough guy, except when I'm reading this. My parents divorced when I was 5. My stepfather was a good man, but severely hampered by his alcoholism. So Mom, being a mother, and with everything it means to be a mother, and being one tough mother, raised her 6 surviving children essentially alone. We lived in a 150-acre farm in the hills of Pennsylvania. If you attended one of our family reunions, the first thing you'd notice was the circus tent in the front yard under which tables were set and food was served. Around that would be scads of kids and dogs running in and out of tent pegs, people's legs, and relatives chatting. The other side of the driveway held the constantly attended basketball half court and adjacent volleyball area. Further off yet, you'd hear the endlessly raspy clamor of a motocross track. We had a large family. And sitting dead center of it all, laughing, you would find my mother, the matriarch of the clan, to whom everyone deferred. I'll get through this. For most of my life, my mother ran a restaurant in Elmira, New York, and a truck stop diner out on Route 17. Both were open 24 hours a day. Whenever one of her elderly regulars didn't show up, she'd call them to see if they were okay. If they were ill, she'd call a cab and have the food delivered to them, free of charge. When asked why coffee was always free to the local cops, she'd reply, if I ever need them, they'll be there. And they were. She never had a problem which wasn't handled quickly. Additionally, with her continual driving back and forth between the restaurants and the farm, she never got a speeding ticket. I myself have heard the words as a cop looked at my license. Oh, you're Ann's son? Be more careful. Get out of here. With 6 kids to raise and 2 24-hour restaurants to run, Mom worked hard. She'd come home, crash for a few hours, be unable to give a coherent answer to anything, and then go back to work. She often said you could fire a gun off while she was sleeping and it wouldn't wake her. We had to try. Now understand, if you moved around the house quietly, trying not to wake her up, she'd yell out, "Who is that? Quit sneaking around and mind your damn business." So we learned to just act natural. Given that, we naturally walked into her room one day, opened the window, and kept our eyes on her while I fired a 20-gauge shotgun out. She never flinched. At some point, we got an above-ground pool in the upper dooryard. Us 2 older boys could run up, leap over the edge, and dive into the water, but the 2 younger boys weren't quite tall enough, so we had a grand time lifting them up above our heads, running toward the pool, and torpedoing them into it. It was great fun. During picnics or reunions, we also grabbed anyone else within reach, yelling "torpedo" every time. And yes, after soaking all our aunts, uncles, cousins, and friends, we finally focused our unbridled attention on our mother. She was still a force. She was still a force of nature back then, so it took a while. But we finally got her up above our heads, running toward the pool, while she yelled, "No torpedo, no torpedo!" We didn't know she was scared of water. She had nearly drowned as a youngster, had been scared of water ever since, and never told us about it. The pool was only waist deep, so she survived just fine. In fact, she came up laughing partly at herself, partly at us, partly at herself, her own unneeded fear, and that's when she told us about nearly drowning. When forced into it, she would be honest. In 1972, Hurricane Agnes came through Elmira, New York. Late at night, as water spilled over the break wall, cops came into the restaurant and said, "Get out, now." Mom and her waitstaff put a few things up on the counter and strolled out, chatting easily. Within a few hours, the water was 10 feet deep. The ceiling was 11 and was the only thing that didn't need thorough cleaning or replacing. When the water went down and Mom got a chance to see it, she turned and walked down the street crying for one of the few times in her life. By the time she got to the corner, she looked up to see that other people had lost their homes, not just their business. She turned right back around. Set up a borrowed camping trailer on the street out front and sold hot dogs and hamburgers to bring in some money while the restaurant was being refurbished. Make no mistake, Hurricane Agnes was hell, but she wasn't tougher than my mother. The only other time I ever heard my mother cry was when our youngest sister, Kathy Lee, was born 3 months early. In 1960, they simply couldn't keep her alive with her undeveloped lungs. She passed in a few hours. No matter how tough, my mother was a mother above all else, devastated by the loss of her child. I like to think they are now reunited.